Welcome to Superintendent Radio Network. I'm Golf Course Industry Magazine Editor-in-Chief Guy Sobrano. We're beginning the 5th season of the Disease Discussion podcast with a terrific guest who works at a fascinating place, Rickey Craig. Rickey is the Vice President of Golf at The Villages, a gigantic and rapidly growing Florida community where golf is one of the main attractions. Rickey is going to provide a comprehensive rundown of the golf course maintenance side of The Villages, including how his team manages and controls disease. Before we get going with Rickey, a word from the Disease Discussion sponsor who's back for the 5th season of supporting this podcast. Turf that's second best isn't good enough. Your goal is to be the GOAT, the greatest of all turf. Intrinsic brand fungicides from BASF don't meet the bar, they raise it. Take the health of your turf to the next level with superior disease control, increased growth efficiency, and enhanced stress tolerance. These foundational fungicides are formulated to deliver superior plant health benefits that set the gold standard in the golf industry with the science to back it up. Refuse to settle for good enough. Strive for greatness with the power of intrinsic brand fungicides. Visit betterturf.basf.us to learn more. Now on to our conversation with Rickey. Well, Rickey, thanks for joining us. We're super excited for this conversation. There's a lot to discuss about the Villages and what your team does. But before we get to some of the technical and human questions here, let's talk some stats and get a few numbers out of the way. How many holes of golf does the Villages have? How many acres of turf are on those courses? How many people are on the team maintaining those holes and acres? And how many maintenance facilities does that team work out of? I know that's a lot, but I know you have the answers to all these things.
Yeah, it's a lot. And remember, as we go through this, these numbers are forever changing. Right now, today, we sit on 747 holes of golf. Of that, 13 championship courses. 3 of the 13 are 18-hole facilities, and 10 at this time are 27-hole championship facilities. We have 44 executive golf courses, which generally are your 9-hole short courses, par 3s, with a few little par 4s sprinkled in and out of there. We have 4 driving ranges, and we have currently, to date, we have our newest championship course, which would make our 14th championship course. That's scheduled to open late spring, early summer, with 2 more executive golf courses under construction and another driving range. So, as I mentioned earlier, the number is ever changing. In those facilities, if it's an 18-hole facility, we usually run about 15, 16 employees with a superintendent and a leadership staff with a spray tech, equipment managers, irrigation techs, spray techs, and then typical operators. And then on their 27, we're usually around 20 to 22 employees on those type facilities with your same leadership team as it relates to that. Most of the 27-hole golf courses are built on about 230, 240 acres of turf. On your 18-hole facilities, we're right around 115 to 120 acres of maintained turf. Each facility does have its own maintenance complex, and as it relates to the executive golf courses, we usually bundle those in groups of 3 to 4, maybe 5 at the extreme, and have facilities associated with those regionally to be able to maintain and maintain an economy of scale out of a single facility. So the teams, we get together early on and kind of land plan, develop kind of where the maintenance facilities need to be in proximity to where the golf course is they're going to lay out, and then build the facilities around that.
How would you describe the Villages to maybe someone that's heard the name but doesn't know much about it? What would you say goes on there on a daily basis?
Well, I would describe the Villages in the way of golf as probably the best kept secret in our industry. When you think about the Villages and you're in, Butte, Montana, or wherever else in the world that you may be, and you think about the Villages, you think about retirement community. But this community is built largely around golf and amenities, recreation. Our desire as a core value is to give you the retirement dreams for you to retire and enjoy whatever aspect of life that you want. And it's largely built around golf. We have everything that you can offer in a golf experience, from the low handicapper that's wanting to go out and continue to work on his game, to the high handicapper that's wanting to come out and just kind of enjoy the experience on the golf course, whether it's a short course, executive course or championship course. But I would definitely say that the Villages is probably the best kept secret in our industry. And if you ever had the opportunity to see the facility, it is very eye-opening whenever you drive onto the property. We cover largely 3 counties, and it's just continuing to grow. And it's exciting to be a part of such a development that is focused largely about golf.
And how much golf conversation do you hear around the community?
Oh, it's everywhere. So from the squares to the commercial spaces, driving your golf cart around to the restaurants. I mean, everybody is either going to the golf course or getting off the golf course. They're heading to their little social gatherings, and they're talking about their groups and when they're going to schedule tee times to, what tournament they're going to play in, what group they're going to play in. So it is a large part of our the residential makeup of what we do in this community. It is certainly a staple as we continue to develop.
What is the typical maintenance morning like at the Villages? And I'm guessing there's probably not exactly a typical day there.
Yeah, every day is different. Obviously, really largely depends on if you are managing the 18-hole facilities, which we run straight tee times on those. Usually a one tee start. We start our day at 6 o'clock, and once we get golfers on the golf course, there's not much of an opportunity to get much done after that. We do well over 3 million rounds of golf a year throughout the community. Right now, this time of year, we're usually averaging about 280 to 300 rounds a day on each golf course. So it's pretty busy once you get started. If you're on a 27 hole, we run the wave. So each 9 starts a starting hole, and then we rotate the turn to the reflecting 9 that is associated with whatever tee you start on. So again, the 18 holes straight tee times. The 27 hole is a wave start. And again, once we get started, we're jamming. We're putting rounds of golf out there.
What type of planning and organization does it take to get everybody into the right places each day?
We are planning a year in advance on everything, from any kind of cultural activity to any kind of tournament scheduling, any kind of community events that we host, whether it be agronomically or whether it be operationally. We try to make sure that we give our residents every opportunity, if they want to play golf on any given day, that they have a golf option. So it's definitely forward thinking, and we're always posting our schedule a year in advance. We have a pretty large team on my operations side. We have a couple of regional directors that help manage our golf professionals, and then we have regional superintendents that help manage their individual teams. And just it's a symphony. It's like on a sheet of music. You're just putting a note on paper, and you're executing your plan. So it's planning and execution, and hoping that you can make things happen, and Mother Nature doesn't punch you in the teeth too often.
How would you describe your role in the symphony?
I guess I'm the guy with the wand, waving the wand around. It is from the time that, because we do so much, because we're building new golf, because we're operating existing golf, because we have a lot of golf courses that are older as it relates to how long they've, from the time they were built to date. It's just really kind of getting everything laid out. So we're trying to make sure that throughout the community, because we're so large, that the experience is completely consistent. And then just kind of managing, when we need to renovate some of the older facilities, where we're building the new facilities, and how we're maintaining all the things in the middle. So it kind of starts with me, but I've got an amazing team around me that really kind of makes sure that things are happening out in the field, and that our residents are not impacted at all. we want to make sure that we can make their retirement dreams come true, and by way of golf. And that's where it kind of starts and stops. As long as we stay focused on our mission, and we continue to execute that, then we're doing our jobs. And as much as we can stay behind the scenes and stay out of the way, it usually takes place.
What led you to the Villages, and how did you ascend to the job that you have now?
So I was born and raised in this area. So whenever I started in the golf industry, my focus, my vision was high-end resort, private, and that was really largely the focus. Had some experience at TPC Sawgrass, Isleworth Country Club, Rosen Hotels and Resorts at Shingle Creek. So I had a wonderful path, but then this opportunity came on, and it was in my backyard. I'd kind of watched the Villages start, and so whenever I was offered this opportunity, it was a kind of a no-brainer for me because it was home, and to be a part of every aspect of golf, from land planning, development, design, construction, operations, maintenance. I mean, it pretty much touches everything that we do in the golf industry, and it's afforded me a wonderful opportunity to meet great people. I have great support, and so it was an exciting move. It was an anxious move because I wasn't sure exactly what I was getting into because it was a fairly new role for the Villages. But as it's evolved, it's really been an amazing ride, and I'm excited about the future and how we can continue to get our name out in the industry and be a great support to the industry, because without the industry and the industry support, we don't have much to look forward to. So it's an exciting time for me.
You mentioned you're around 3 million rounds. How have the increases in play over the last 3 or 4 years affected your team and your operation? Well,
interestingly enough, as pre-COVID, we were still doing more rounds than most anybody that I'm aware of. As COVID came through, our rounds increased because we were really the only game in town. So it was an opportunity for people that were not necessarily playing golf to start playing. Our rounds have continued to increase. Our weather is such a major impact on our total overall numbers. The beginning of this year has not been real good as far as weather. And so when our residents, in cold weather, we really don't play a lot. And obviously in the rainy season, we lose some rounds, but our rounds are still maintaining and staying at a higher level than than the pre-COVID time period. So we do expect to see those rounds continue to stabilize a little bit, but we always, as fast as we're growing, we're getting a ton of people in the community. So we do see our rounds continuing to elevate slightly based on the percentage of new residents that we have coming into the community.
What type of golf experience are you trying to provide your residents and members?
I think it's what our industry is showcasing. I mean, we want to provide them with the best golf experience available to them. We want you to live here, play here, and we want to provide you every experience that you're looking for as a resident, as a golfer on these golf courses. It's the championship courses and the executive courses they're good design golf courses. They're fun to play, but our expectations are well above what your typical daily fee experience would be. I mean, we want you to have that private feel and kind of take ownership in the properties. So our goal is to put forward a great product, a great experience, a great golf course, good turf conditions. So you can be proud of whether you're playing, one golf course or the other, and the experience is generally the same.
So you try to provide, I guess, consistent conditions over all the holes you have, and if so, how tough can that be with some of the microclimates that can happen in an area so big?
That's real. I mean, it's absolutely our goal to have very, very consistent conditions across, but between the most northern end of the community to the most southern end of the community, you can have temperature swings of up to 6, 8, 10 degrees, especially during the winter. We have a number of courses that would be impacted by frost. You have a number of courses that don't get the frost. You have during the rainy seasons, you have some locations that are getting 1, 2, 3 inches of rain in any given rain event, and some golf courses that are not getting any rainfall. So it's a challenge, but we've got a really solid program put in place to do everything that we can do with help of Mother Nature to provide those consistent conditions. But it is really from north, south, east to west. It is certainly you've got the microclimate environments where your soil structures are different. Your some are sandy, some have some sandy loams, some have some clays. And then the weather impact. I mean, you're really talking potentially real temperature swings in variations in our location.
How would you describe the growing environment in your specific region of Florida?
I think it's good. This market, this area is kind of on a unique as it relates to whether we fully go dormant or not. Sometimes we get these the cold fronts that come through. Sometimes they stop on top of us. Sometimes they move south of us. Sometimes they stay north of us. So we really are kind of on that cusp of never truly going dormant, but also in some areas that really are impacted by cold weather. And really the fall and the winter are the seasons that are the most challenging for us, just because of where the cold fronts kind of move through. Long, cloudy days, cool, moist days, wet days. Water management becomes very challenging. So I think as far as when we are in growing season, really a good environment. But when we get into that late fall, early winter time frame, can become quite challenging just because of how our cold fronts kind of move through, and whether we are getting frost or whether we're staying kind of mild and wet or whatever the case may be. Especially like this year with the El Nino, that's really been a challenge. We're handling it, but I think that's through good cultural activity and good management, good planning. So it is certainly a good area to grow the Bermuda grass varieties that we're managing.
Yeah, that leads to my next question. What type of varieties of turf grass are you maintaining across the 747 holes of golf?
We have a lot. So in the early days, when the golf courses, when they first started developing, they were largely with tip dwarf, the tip dwarf on the greens, and 419 Bermuda and everywhere else. But we've since transitioned. We do have on greens. We're going to in all of our renovations and new constructions, we're doing Tiff Eagle on greens. We're doing Celebration Bermuda grass on tees and fairways, just because of the aggressive growth nature of the Celebration. We can handle the traffic a little better. And then we're planting Tiff Tough Bermuda grass in all of our rough and the surrounding areas, just because of the water tolerances, the drought tolerant, the ability for the Tiff Tough to be a little bit more drought tolerant than some of the other Bermuda grasses out there.
The title of this podcast is Disease Discussion, so let's get into your disease management program a little bit. Rickey, what type of disease challenges do you face or could potentially face in your part of Florida?
Oh, you name it. We have our focus is seasonally, largely, during the summer, fairy ring, mini ring, take all, root rot. Our big deals during the fall, winter, leaf spot, pythium, algae, take all. All of those things are active and challenges. Our program, our approach is preventative, obviously. But again, as I mentioned, that late fall, early winter time frame, when you have the cloud cover and moisture sitting around for long periods of times, the disease pressure can become really, really challenging.
Is this the most challenging time of year, or all 12 months equally challenging?
I mean, obviously, all 12 months, staying ahead of it. But I would say largely this is the most challenging time of year, especially because of the recovery. Right? You get banged with a disease or hit with some pressure, and we don't overseed. So any kind of failures or breakthrough, we're having to recover out of that, and the recovery is slow, marginal at best. So we have a pretty strong program that we start generally around October, and stay focused on leaf spot, pythium, algae, take all of those tissue diseases that you see out there, all the different pressures that you see during that fall time period, and we stay after it pretty regularly. And then we kind of transition from that as we come into the springtime, focusing on fairy ring, mini ring, those types of diseases, and really just trying to stay so preventative on all of those with having something on the shelf ready to go at any time should there be breakthrough based on whatever we're seeing daily or whatever we think that the weather pattern is going to bring our way, and just really studying that 10-day forecast, just trying to stay ahead of things.
Before we get back to our conversation with Rickey, another word from our sponsor. BASF knows superintendents can't predict when fairy ring will hit. That's why Navicon Intrinsic brand fungicide is made to be sprayed at any time in any temperature. This unique and highly effective dual-action DMI chemistry safely controls tough turf diseases throughout the year. And the added power of intrinsic brand fungicides gets to the root of the problem, maintaining plant health by strengthening from the ground up. Add Navicon Intrinsic brand fungicide to your rotation and help keep your greens pristine. Visit betterturf.basf.us to learn more. Now back to our conversation with Rickey. What does your spray calendar look like? Try to give our listeners a visualization for it. I can't even imagine how many spreadsheets and dry erase boards and things like that you must have for all this golf.
It's pretty much something going out every week of the year. Our spray program during the summer is largely 3 to 4 week intervals on some of the the DMI products or the Strobe products, things like that. But once we hit that first part of October, we are spraying generally every 7 to 14 days, depending on what mode of action that we're putting out there. Obviously thinking about whether it's a contact or something that's root absorbed, or something that is trying to manage the amount of water we're putting in on we're putting on our green surfaces. So all of those things are thought of, but I put an annual calendar together, and it basically starts January 1st and it ends the last day of the year, and we start over. But just trying to learn, especially with the new technologies, some of the new product lines that are coming out. I'm generally not one to kind of rush to a new product, just because we don't have, if history has proven successful, it usually takes us a little time to kind of trend into some of the newer chemistries that are out there. But it is a full calendar year of planning and applications.
How has that calendar changed over the years? How different would the 2024 calendar look like compared to the 2014 calendar?
Well, again, if it's not broke, don't fix it, kind of thing. But with the new technologies, especially in the DMI market, in this area, we've struggled just because a lot of the labels kind of dictate when you want to spray, and our soil temperatures may not ever get to some of those suggested levels. So we do a lot of trials, a lot of locations that we'll do some kind of out of the way areas that we can do some trials. So our programs stay pretty consistent, and as the new technologies come on, we'll see where they fit in. If we can reduce an application by something that's come to market, or if we need to add something to the plan based on the previous year's experience. So it is a evolving, reoccurring approach, but it's all subject to change based on either what we've learned over the past year or what's coming to market as it relates to different product lines.
When you're building this disease control program, what type of conversations are you having with your course superintendents? What do they tell you that help you when you're building this big calendar?
So we meet with our regional superintendents monthly and talk about what's working, what's not working during the timelines. And then we try to meet with our superintendents on a quarterly basis. It's kind of the adage, start, stops, and continues kind of methodology, really talking about the season behind us and the season ahead of us. So at that time, we can make site-specific, more regional decisions based on what we've experienced. So we're constantly having conversations with our superintendents, but it also relates to our product manufacturers and our product distributors being engaged in the conversation as well. So it goes back to the idea that we are evolving, but we are cautious in making any quick reaction. But through conversations, through discussions, through being on the property, seeing their success, seeing what's working, what's not working, and then making adjustments monthly and then quarterly. So it's a lot of conversation. And our superintendents are pretty engaged with the process, pretty excited to be able to bring their thoughts and ideas to the table, and then just listening to the residents as what their experiences are. That's how we kind of gauge our success on that.
I'm sure you have probably every turf product salesperson on the planet coming to you wanting to offer you things and sell things. What do you look for when you're trying to determine what type of fungicide to incorporate into a program?
My strategy is a little different. I have great relationships with our distribution companies that we work with, and I've limited them to just a couple. Some would argue that that's probably not the right thing to do, but it's working for me and for our community. But my relationship largely is with the manufacturers. At the end of the day, if I have failure or I have struggles, I'm reaching out to the manufacturers and looking for help and support. I am a manufacturer supporter. I am a brand name guy. Not saying that some of the off-market products are not great and reasonable, but whenever I have challenges and struggles, I want to be able to go to the source to get support. We're too big, and there's too many golfers that are out there that we need to have the support so we can keep these golf courses open and playable. So it's about the relationship for me with the couple distributors that we deal with, and then obviously from the manufacturer's perspective.
Well, you just kind of answered one of my next questions. I'm getting ready to ask you, what are the advantages that come with managing operations of scale? Dealing with the manufacturer directly is obviously one of those, but what are some other advantages to having such a big scale operation?
Our industry is really struggled with product delivery, and it's not just in the chemical market, but it's also in the equipment market, and whether you're talking from a mower to an irrigation head, from drainage material to whatever we do, we've struggled with. It's getting better, but we've struggled with just the products reaching us and us being able to get it in a timely fashion. So because of that, from an equipment perspective, we can buy one machine, and if we can't get another machine, and we got another one machine down or whatever, we can manipulate that around the community to make sure that the jobs are getting done. So because of the economy of scale, there are efficiencies with that across the board. Say we have an outbreak and whatever might happen, there's always a facility that's got whatever we're looking for, either in the IPM buildings or in their equipment storage rooms. So there are advantages to having such an economy of scale.
What are some disadvantages maybe to having so much to maintain?
It's execution, right? Hitting our targets, hitting our timelines, sticking to the plans, and it's the quality control and staying involved and on top of it is really challenging. As far as a disadvantage, I don't know that I could suggest that there's any disadvantages to the economy of scales, but it's more about execution and making sure that we hit our targets, we hit our dates, we stay ahead. So when we open up the tee sheet to the golf course, we're not scrambling. So it's just making sure that, everybody's doing their part and getting around, being available. That's a tough one because our days are so busy and we're doing so much more with less people, less equipment, less products. I mean, it becomes a little cumbersome to stay on top of that. But I think that's not just the disadvantage. I think that's just the nature of our industry as a whole right now.
With that said, what are some maintenance efficiencies or different ways of tackling tasks that you've been able to implement over the years? Is there some that really stick out in your mind that you're proud of?
Yeah, our cultural activities. I mean, we've improved and increased our cultural activities exponentially over the last 6-7 years. Being able to move some equipment around, being able to make sure that we have the equipment available, and so we're never down while we have these things on schedule. Again, going back to the original, one of the previous conversations about planning and scheduling. We publish a lot of our applications and cultural activities a year in advance. And so our residents schedule their days around whichever golf course is going to be shut down for the day for an application or for any kind of aerification or verticutting or top dressing or whatever we're doing. So we've got to hit our dates. We got to hit our targets. And so the ability to be able to move people around, move equipment around, move product around to make sure we don't miss any of those windows is very, very important and special.
Do you have a project season, Rickey, or are there just projects occurring year-round?
It's year-round. So the way we work it, we generally try to slow our projects down, usually the first quarter, maybe the first 4 months of the year, just because that's in our busiest season. We do 9-hole renovations every year, and then obviously we're building golf courses every year right now. So our major renovations where we're actually shutting down golf courses happens usually, May through October-ish. But then we're always coming back doing irrigation projects, drainage projects, cart path projects, landscape enhancement projects, remodeling to our golf shops or restrooms on the golf course, painting and reflooring, resurfacing, whatever the case may be, because there is such a vastness between our first golf course that was ever built to our most recent golf course. I mean, you're talking a span of 30 plus years. So we try to have a strategy in place that we're keeping the old renewed and refreshed, and the new and so there's a level of consistency between what was behind us and what's in front of us.
What do you consider success for you and your team?
A happy golfer. The golf industry is a wonderful industry, and the most challenging part for us is to be able to do all the things that we need to do from the front door to the back door to the first tee to the 18th green, and all of those things. And the way I measure success is by saying that resident had every experience and every opportunity to have a great day, and that their time on the golf course was one of value and that brought them some joy, and that they've done that and we've done our part, and that we were not the part of the conversation. The conversation was more about them as a resident, them as their lives, and seeing the golfer experience something special, whether it was that shot that he hit on, number 4, and the greens rolled in, he made a 20-foot putt. So I've always said that it's the things that are unseen that measure our best success. When something is being seen or talked about from a golf course experience, then maybe we missed the mark a little bit. So it's being that unseen hero in somebody's experience for the day, whether it's from shopping in our golf shops to the experience at the register when they're checking in, to the ambassadors and the starters on the golf course, to what the maintenance teams have done on the golf course. So we do our best when we are not seen or recognized, and it's about the experience of the golfer and the golf course.
It's kind of amazing to think about how fast the Villages has gone from 0 to 747 holes. With that said, what's the next few decades looking like for golf at the Villages, Ricky, and what's the future for your team and the community?
Well, we are always changing, evolving, growing. I can tell you we have as much ahead of us as we have behind us. There is a wonderful group of a design team that is continuing to work. There's many, many years ahead of us for not only to continue to develop the community, but to continue to build golf. And golf is such an important part of the success of our community, not only from an experience perspective, but also from a land planning, from water movement to, infrastructure, connectivities. So there's so many things ahead of us, and the future in front of us is many, many years to come.
Well, Ricky, congratulations on everything you and your team have accomplished. It's kind of startling to think about everything you just told us, and good luck with all that you have coming up here in the future. We really appreciate you taking the time, and this was a joy to get a chance to speak with you.
Absolutely. I was glad to be a part. We continue to want to be part of the success of the industry, and we are excited about where the industry of golf is continuing to move forward, and we just hope to be a part of that as we continue to move ahead. Thank you for being a part of that.